Hello everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. Time to take that walk and go see what's in the fridge today. Hello everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. Hopefully this is going to be a big treat. It's a big bottle anyway. Excuse me, this is Deschutes Brewing, and they're building a brewery here in the next couple of years. They come to town last year and signed an agreement and has some land and told us it's going to take 3 to 5 years to get the brewery in here. I'm going, why so long? But they are distributing their beers here, and these guys are out of Bend, Oregon, so we are getting their beers here. They are sending us some nice stuff. This is the Mirror, which is a barley wine, and let me read, and it's got wax on the bottle. It's a big 22-ounce bomber. I picked this up at the Barrel Chaps from Martin and the guys out there when Rico was in town. Went out there and took him out there and introduced him to Martin, and we sipped on a few nice beverages and picked up some stuff. He did, and I did too while we're there. This is their 2014 Reserve of Mirror. And what it is a barley wine ale with 50% of it aged in wine barrels. So they've done a blend on this beer. The 2014, and this is from the Mirror Pond, a double batch, according to what the commercial description says. And this is a big beer too, 11.2% it's got on the bottle here. It's got 11% written on rate beer here. So I don't know how many times they've done this, if they do it once a year or whatever. This is a 2014 edition, and the bottle says 11.2%. Reserve Series Romance all began with our first release of the limited edition brew, Mirror, born of a double batch of Mirror Pond Ale and Pale Ale, and I have done that beer before, guys, a long time ago. It is an inspired barrel-aged barley wine layered with intriguing nuances. Explore this latest incarnation and enjoy this delicious complexity in every sip. And this is a sipper, guys, 11.2%. Final beer of the evening for me. Like I said, I did pick this up from Martin and the guys out there. Deschutes is sending their, they have been sending their regular beers. They take it out here in the little 12-ounce bottles. And when I went out there with Rico, I seen this one sitting there with the wax on, and I'm going, that's not an inexpensive beer. It's a pricey beer, but let me give it a whirl. Because I had not seen it there the last time I was there. So, man, when I seen 2014 Reserve Barley Wine at this big of ABV, I said, this may be pretty tasty. So let's see where it ends up. So I'll give you the commercial description. I don't have the IBUs listed here on Rate Beer, and it's not on Untapped either one. So I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about. So let me try to get this big wax coating. And guys, I'm not a fan of this silly ass wax. I'm not. That just makes the beer cost more. It doesn't help the beer, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. There's a lot of people who disagree with me on that. So if you're laying the beer down like a wine bottle and aging it like a wine bottle, of course the wine bottles have corks in them, and you need to lay them down to keep the cork wet. With a plastic cap, metal cap with plastic underneath of it, I don't know where that's going to benefit the beer other than make it cost more. Perhaps somebody's standing at the end of the bottling line dipping each one of these beers in there, and that just lets them charge more for the beer. That's just my opinion, though, guys. Just my opinion. Like I said, there's a lot of people who disagree with me on that. Glad the cap's still on there. They dumped it all over my damn self. Alright, let's see if we can get this off here. And it's coming off in little bitty pieces, and that's another reason why I'm not a big fan of this crap. If they didn't have somebody standing at the end of the bottling line, this beer would be a couple dollars probably cheaper to buy. That's why I'm not a fan of these wax-covered beers. Yeah, it's got wax on it. That makes it worth more money. Let's charge $2, $3, $5 more for it. That's the way I feel about it. So that is just my opinion, though. And everybody's got at least one opinion, and if not more, they're like, well, I won't say that. We'll try to keep it nice and pleasant. But like I said, I don't want any of these little bits of wax falling down in the beer. So, all right, food pranks for this beer, guys. It says, and I don't want any of this wax going down in there. I'm not sure a piece of it didn't go down in there. That's just what we need, a big chunk of wax down in your beer. Wax covered beers chap my ass, I swear they do. Serves no purpose, like tits on a boar hog. Alright, the cheeses are sharp blue cheddar, your stronger cheeses, Gorgonzola and Limburger. General digestive is what it says here. Last right pint, back 9 tumbler snifter, oversized wine glass. Got my favorite snifter, and can be settled for long periods of time, guys. So, and we're leaving about this much in the bottle for her to have a glass. Very murky brown in color. Didn't pour a very big head, not super carbonated. I do see a little bit of light down around the bottom of the glass here. Looks very typical of a barley wine. Let's get a nose on it. Big sweet barley wine sweetness on the back end. Very typical of a barley wine. And like I said, this was aged in wine barrels. Yep. 50% of it was aged in wine barrels. Caramel, toffee, some molasses. Not getting a big booziness for 11.2%. It smells very pleasant. Very nice. A very nice wintertime beer, if you will, when it's very cold outside. You got the fireplace or the gas log's on. Very nice sipper. And that's what I plan to do with this. Poured a little bit more in here than I intended to. I usually don't pour it about that much, and took a little bit of her, so I might have to give her a couple sips out of this to bring it down to where it should be. Smells very good though. Not getting a huge wine barrel influence on the nose right off. So, let's dive in. Cheers. Big maltiness there. Big sweet malt. A lot of malt to produce 11.2% beer. Not boozy whatsoever. Well made, no doubt. Not getting the wine barrel influence on this beer. I'm not sure it was worth the effort unless it had been 100% aged in wine barrels and then put it in the bottle. But for half of it and then half of it not, then blend those two together, the wine barrels have kind of got lost. Not giving any huge vinous or grape influences in the beer right off. Now it's right out of the fridge, 40 degrees. As it warms up, I might get some of those, and I am going to let it warm up. And aging 50% of this in wine barrels and letting it sit. It doesn't say how long they set in that wine barrels, whether it was a month, 3, 6, a year. It doesn't tell us how long they let that half set in the wine barrels and whether they were first run wine barrels or they had beer in them before. Would like to see a little bit more information. Especially when they do these blended barrels. If it had been half in a bourbon barrel, a first run bourbon barrel, you would probably get some of those notes still. It would be a blended beer. But the wine barrels are a little less prevalent to lending those tastes unless it's 100%. All this is just my opinion, guys. And so I'm just telling you what I personally think out of all the beers that I've tasted over the years. In my honest opinion, I think they probably wasted their time putting 50% of this in wine barrels and then blending it together, and then on top of that having somebody stand and dipping each one of these bottles in a wax to make it cost more. So I don't remember what I paid for this beer, to be honest with you guys. It was not a cheap beer. This beer was probably at least $15 for a 22 ouncer. And I'm not sure the wine barrels have lent enough to that blending to make it worth what I end up having to pay for it. So, but Deschutes makes some awesome beers, guys. They are very impressive. They don't, as far as I know, they don't make any shitty beers. They make a very tasty beer in everything they do. But when you start getting into the blended beers like this, and not being a bourbon barrel or a whiskey barrel or a rum barrel, and going into a wine barrel, where you may not get a lot of those hints. So let's let it warm up. Let me sip on it for a while and see if I can detect any of that, the wine-esque qualities, any vinous or grapes or anything like that when it comes up to room temperature, and see what we end up with here. I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. Got a little left here. I did want to, I told you it was a 2014 reserve, and these guys have got a best after date on there. And it says best after February 24th of 2015, and this is March the 2nd of 2017. So a couple years after the best by date to let this stuff come together and melt well. 2014, 15, 16, 17, 3 years in the bottle. 2 years after the best after date. So, and now that it's warmed up a little bit, I am getting some slight hints of that, the wine barrels they put in there. Couldn't get it when it was right out of the fridge cold at 40 degrees, but now that it's come up to temperature a little bit, I am getting slight hints of those barrel aging, especially for a blended beer, for half of it having been in wine barrels and half of it not. So, very tasty. It is a very, very tasty beer. Don't think I wasted my money. I would probably buy this beer again. Kind of impressive. Now that it's come up to room temperature, I am getting those notes of the wine barrels that half of it was put in. So if it had been 100% in the wine barrels, I got a feeling those notes would have been a little more prevalent even at 40 degrees than they are now that it's come up to room temperature. Very nice beer. It is a very enjoyable beer. These guys at Deschutes make some very tasty beers, guys. I don't think I don't think they make a bad beer. I really don't. I just kind of find these wax covered bottles to be a useless step in the preservation of the beer that's inside of them. That's just me though, guys. That's just the way I feel about these the wax covered bottles. 100% in the wine barrels, I think you would get a more prevalent notes than what I got on this when it was right out of the fridge, but I am getting them now. So sip on this beer if you've got it. You want those notes to come out, and if you don't want to bring it out of the fridge at 40 degrees, bring it out and set it on the table and let it warm up for an hour before you pour it in your glass, and you might get those notes a little. And a lot of people do that. I mean, they don't drink these beers, and even the Imperial Stouts that's been bourbon barrel aged. A lot of these heavier beers, darker beers, they don't drink them fresh. And I like to start off with them that way, and I always let them come up to room temperature, whether it's a barley wine, a stout, an IPA, and I usually sip on all those beers at least 25 to 30 minutes, sometimes a little longer. So I do want it to come up, every beer, I want it to come up and see if there's any differences between right out of the fridge at 40 degrees and what it is at room temperature. That's why I do what I do and come back for the final chug. Let me sip on it a while, let it come up to room temperature and see if anything changes in the beer. And this one did. I'm getting more of the wine barrel notes than I did right out of the fridge. Very nice beer. A great final beer of the evening. A great beer to sit by the fire or the gas logs or whatever it may be when it's about 20 degrees outside. Very nice barley wine. final chug. Oh no, we're not going to leave that. Very pleasant beer, guys. Vintage on the label, 2014. Best after date, which I'm not a fan of. But they tell you, it's a 2014, doesn't tell us what. They did it in January, February, December of that year. Got a feeling they did it earlier in the year if they got the best after date in February. I got a feeling this was probably bottled in February of 2014. And they want you to cellar it for at least a year in best after date. I may be wrong on that. I'm just guessing. That's just my personal opinion. I'd be surprised if this was actually done in 2015. I wouldn't think they'd want a best after date the same year that they had bottled it. So I got a feeling it was the 2014 Reserve Edition. It was bottled in 2014. They wanted to sell it for a year, best after February of 2015, and we're in after February and March of 2017. So it's 3 years in the bottle. Very nice. Very, very nice. To me, guys, I'm going to give this an 8. Numeric rating for me, guys, would probably be a 90. I was going to say 98. I'm going to give it a 97. 100% in the wine barrels, I would probably step it up a notch or two, maybe even 3. It may have even been 100 an A+ beer. And there's probably people out there saying, "Oh, you're crazy. That's outstanding." That's one. I won't argue with that. It is a very tasty beer, guys. So 97 for me. It is an A+ beer or an A beer. A+ you don't get to A+ till you get to the 10, and I'm not sure this is a 10. If it had been 100% in the wine barrels, I may have gone there. But with the blended beer, I want more. If you're going to take the time to put it in a barrel and age it, I want to see 100%, not a blended regular beer and all that. And maybe they tasted the 100% before they blended it and thought it was a little too this or a little too that, a little too heavy. And that's why they blended it. So I'm doing the backseat quarterback here on this. So I'm not the brewer, and they may have thought that it needed to be blended to be the perfect match, and it may have been. So that's where I'm putting it. Over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate has it at, come on, beer, you can do it. You can do it. 93 in the outstanding range. I think it's a little better than a 93. I really do. And over to Rate Beer. Rate Beer has it at 98. I'm pretty close to that with a 97. So definitely an A beer from both of those guys. And for our final check-in, we run over to Untapped. Untapped has it at 4.07, which is in their A category also. So it's unanimous. It's an A beer, guys. Definitely worth picking up. And you probably can still find this. Martin and the other guys out there at Barrel Chest probably still have some more of this out there. So it is available. So if you don't have it already and you want to try it, pick it up. It's probably still available. So if you've had it, let me know what you think, guys. I enjoyed this. Great final beer of the evening. A nice sipper, if you will, for a cold, I don't say cold March night. It's still here in Virginia. We still get, I think tomorrow the highs is going to be in the 40s, and it's going down in the 20s tonight. And then again, by the weekend, it's about to be up in the 60s or 70s. It's the way it is here in Virginia this time of the year. You might have a day where you can get your motorcycle out and ride it, and then the other days you might have to get your snow shovel out and do your thing with it. So that's how it is in Virginia. If you don't like the weather, wait 24 hours. It's probably going to change. Alright guys, if you've had this, let me know what you think. Come on back tomorrow. Let's take something out of the fridge. See you then.